All right, Chagiga, Daf Hey. Another amazing daf with lots of really strong lessons and fascinating stories. So, yesterday we talked a lot about psukim that would cause certain Rabbanim to break down in tears. Today we continue that topic. We talk about Rabbi Yochanan, and he lists a couple of psukim that would make him cry. For him, what really got to him was the psukim that had to do with was, I guess, sheer helplessness. There's certain psukim that make it seem like, like a master who holds his slave accountable for certain things, and like for him, it's hard to deal with the fact that like the slave, like a slave whose master is after him, just has no hope. For example, pasuk says, "Vatisiseni bo levalo chinam," which means that they incite me to basically to swallow up my slave for no reason. So it's like, if your master's coming after you for no reason, then you have no hope. Additionally, hein b'kedosha of lo yamin, which is like if even the holy people, the master's not going to believe, Hashem's not going to trust us, then what hope do we have? We're hopeless. And it brings an interesting story to, like, on just based on that pasuk. Also, there was a fig collector who was throwing out the good figs, the ripe figs, and he was keeping the unripe figs. And so when someone asked him, why are you doing that? He said, because I'm going on a long journey, so the ones that are ripe for me right now I don't need, but the ones that will be ripe soon are the ones that I need. And basically the nimshal that they learned from this was, even certain people who are righteous right now could even have the potential to die young or be unworthy. Just stam. That's just the reality, which is a somewhat hopeless thing. There are other psukim like v'karavti alechem lemishpat v'yisi eid b'maher b'machashvim. Basically, I'm going to bring everyone to judgment. This is Hashem talking. I'll be a witness, and I'll basically testify about things like doing machshefa, like forbidden acts of witchcraft, all the way. And then at the end it says and things like the oshke schar sacher. So like anything from wage disputes all the way to avodah zarah, like Hashem's gonna be a witness from. So it's like, first of all, it's a little bit. It makes us feel hopeless to know that Hashem is testifying, because who could stand before that? But also the fact that like everything is accounted for, not just the really powerful things, not just the real big averos, but everything, which is a little bit distressing, I think. And it also says, Ki es kol ma'aseh Elokim yavi b'mishpat al kol ne'elam. So Hashem is going to bring everything to judgment, including all the hidden stuff. Nothing, you can't hide from anything. Gemara asks, but what does that mean, by the way, if something is hidden? So we talk about, like, if you do something small, or where you spit in front of your friend and he's disgusted, or you kill like a louse or something and your friend is disgusted. So even those things are considered as part of your collective judgment. And then the continuation of that pasuk is im tov im ra. Hashem's going to judge you for good and for bad. What does that mean? Like, why could you be judged poorly for something good? So we say, well, you do something good, but it's not really so good. For example, you give an ani money in public. You think you're doing the right thing, but you're really embarrassing him because he needs to accept money. Or for example, you send meat to your wife back home. In terms of why you have to send to your wife back home. Let's say you bring home meat and you give it to your wife, and it's not really ready for Shabbos. Like, it's certain things haven't been taken off. It seems like you're doing an impressive thing, but you're really not. The next topic is Hashem concealing himself from us. The famous pasuk, Filu v'astara v'soch astara. So that pasuk is not actually brought down here, but the pasuk says, V'chara pi bayom ahu v'zavtim histarti panai mehem. Hashem's going to conceal his face from us. So it sounds like a pretty bad thing, and it is, but the silver lining here is that you can only conceal yourself from somebody who you previously shown yourself to. So as the Gemara says, if you never experienced Hesder Panim, then you never experienced, actual revelation by Hashem at all. And there's a story where Rav Bardala, that's what Rav Bardala says, that idea. And there's a story where Rava, with King Shapur, where the Rabbanim looked at him and they said, basically made it seem like the king had never looked at him, or had never taken money from him. It's a little bit, the connection here is a little bit interesting, but although technically he had given a lot of money to the king, by the way, he was very wealthy, Rava, but because the Rabbanim looked at him, in a scrutinous way, the king came and took another chunk of taxes from him. So that was sort of the connection, I think the king laying his gaze upon you. And there's a story of Rabbi Yeshua and a heretic, or Rabbi Yeshua was once in the court in the presence of the king, and a heretic motioned to him, basically saying Hashem is no longer with you guys, or he's not looking at you like he used to. And Rabbi Yeshua says, nonetheless, and this was all sign language because you're not really supposed to talk in front of the king. Nonetheless, Rabbi Yeshua responded, basically, correct, he's not really, there may be hazard upon him, but even when he's not looking, he's still protecting us with his hands. And they asked Rabbi Yeshua, what were you signaling? And that's what he explained. And they asked the heretic, what were you signaling? And he basically said what he was signaling to Rabbi Yeshua, but he couldn't explain what Rabbi Yeshua was responding. And so they ended up saying to the heretic, if you can't even read signals, then what are you doing in the king's court? And he was ultimately killed. So happy ending to the story of Rabbi Yeshua and the heretic. Then we move on. So that was the topic of Hezder Panim, and then we move on to talk about Hashem actually crying. Pasuk says, "V'imlo tishmeu me'ua mistarim tivche nafshi min ge'a," which means if you don't listen to Hashem, then his soul is going to cry in this place called Mistarim. We say, what does it mean? How could Hashem cry in his courtyard? That's not really a thing. We say no. There are two different areas within Hashem's larger court. In certain places you can, and in certain places you cannot cry. And just parenthetically, Gemara says that Hashem cries for three different types of people: people who can learn Torah but don't, people who can not learn Torah but do, and a chacham who is too arrogant. And that sort of leads into the second half of, another thing is 3 times that Hashem cries for Bais Rishon, Bais Sheni, and the exile of the Jewish people, or Bittul Torah, whichever way that you interpret it. Because we were talking about an arrogant leader, so there's a story where Rebbe and Rebbe Chia went to go visit a certain town, and they inquired, they found out that the gadol of that town was a blind man, and they both went to go visit him out of respect. And the blind man, apparently because many people didn't give him the respect because he was blind, he basically said that just like you are paying, the people who can see, are paying respects to me who cannot see. So too, Hashem, who you can't see, will you'll be zocher to pay respects to him as well. And then there's a story of Rabbi Edi, where he used to take a 3-month journey, to spend 1 day in yeshiva and then come back, which is, some of the Rabbanim ridiculed him because that sounds like an inefficient use of time. And Rabbi Yochanan said, pay no matter, because that 1 day of learning Torah in the Beis Medrash properly is worth it for the entire year, which is a powerful thing. And that concludes Chagiga Daf Hey. Sorry it's a little bit long, but I hope you see it was worth it. Have a good day.